Jake Ellzey. He's a conservative Texas state legislator. Ellzey is a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy and was deployed nine times to Afghanistan and Iraq. Fighter pilot, Ellzey has served 5 combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, including one in which he served on the ground with SEAL Team 5, received 2 Bronze Stars. Jake is a candidate for the U.S. Congress in the Texas 6th Congressional District, but is still fighting a lot of battles in the Texas legislature. Mr. Ellzey, welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show.
Good morning, Chris. Thanks for having me. It's such a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, and right back at you, sir. It has been an odyssey for our teams to make contact, and for whatever ways that we may have dropped the ball on this one, you have my sincerest apology. But you're here now, and it was suggested to me when we were trying to figure out why we couldn't connect that, and I'm going to ask you a question I've asked everyone running that came on the show in CD6. Where are you on President Trump's role in the Republican Party?
President Trump is has an essential role in the Republican Party, and so many of the successes that we've witnessed over the last 4 years up until the last 6 months were due specifically to him, because he was not afraid to stand up and say, I don't owe anybody anything. I'm going to do what's right for this country, and I don't care what hurdles I have to endure. I'm going to do that. And so I've always been a supporter of President Trump's, and so he still plays a vital role in this party.
Congressman Dan Crenshaw, a hero in his own right, has endorsed you. What other endorsements have you tallied up during the campaign?
I have 23 Republican state representatives, Rick Perry, Marcus and Morgan Luttrell. Morgan's, of course, is running for Congress now. I've got 3 of the Ellis County commissioners, the Navarrete County sheriff. So I've got a good mix. I don't try to tally them up by numbers. I tally them up by just good quality folks, and so does she. So endorsements play a role, but they're not all the role in these elections. So Jake, I'm very proud of the endorsements I've got. Jake
Ellzey, our guest right now, folks. He is running to be the next congressman to the Congressional District 6 here in the great state of Texas. Representative Steve Toth, I know you know him well, calling for a forensic audit in Texas elections in 13 counties, with audits underway in Arizona, one being attempted in Pennsylvania, and, of course, the multiple counties under review in Georgia. Could an audit here in Texas do any harm?
No. In fact, if you look at that bill, I'm a co-author of House Bill 241. So I don't see why anybody of either side would say, shouldn't we just do an audit? What's wrong with an audit?
Yeah, you know what?
Let's check it out. And if there's nothing to see, there's nothing to see. So I don't understand the opposition to it.
I was talking earlier with Jenna Ellis, the former Trump attorney, who said, and we were talking about how in the year 2000, Democrats were conducting audits everywhere and nobody batted an eyelash. So I'm not exactly sure why the other side is so uptight about audits now. Let's turn our attention down to the border. News reports indicating that Biden's border crises, multiple, they have yielded a 900% increase in China virus cases at the border. You add that to the New York Times confirming 10,000 plus China virus cases among illegal aliens, and then 27,000 sick border agents and counting. Now, we have confirmed that Biden is using our Texas military bases to redistribute illegal aliens to unknown destinations, we're assuming, in our country. Now, everybody in the race in CD6 is saying they oppose illegal immigration. Would you address the illegal immigration crisis we're under and why you would be the better choice to combat it in Congress?
Absolutely, and it is a crisis. It's a humanitarian crisis. It's a military crisis. It is a national security crisis, and it's a multi-leveled crisis. I went down there and spent the night last month to see firsthand exactly how bad it is. We have nobody opposing any crossing right now. The Biden administration in January, when they said, we're not going to check to see if you we're not going to process your family if you bring a child in under the age of 7. So what they've instituted is they've encouraged trafficking of children beneath the age of 7 so other families can get across, which is why we're finding dead children down there on the border. We have 90% of the heroin that comes in comes through the Rio Grande Valley. The fentanyl that comes from China comes through the Rio Grande Valley. And we have we have these unaccompanied males who are 13 to 15 years old, either working for the cartels or working for MS-13 from El Salvador. The closest point of entry from Guatemala is McAllen, Texas. And then these people are being filtered up through the rest of our country into every community. So the gun violence that Joe Biden claims he's so against, when he was in charge, and we had Operation Fast and Furious, which inundated the Mexican border with illegal weapons. Now they're being used in places like Chicago by MS-13 members who come up through the border. So this problem is a humanitarian crisis of epic proportions, and it seems as if every action the Biden administration has taken is not to strengthen our country, but to weaken it at every level, from our military to our border, everywhere. So whoever's pulling the strings really, really wants to see our country fail from within.
Yeah, and when you, as a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy, when you found out that civilian planes were given access to Lackland Air Force Base to redistribute illegal aliens all over this country, and our military and our border agents being used as the final link in that chain of the ruthless narco terrorists and drug cartels, tell me about the emotions you experienced.
It's one where you watch, and of course when I go down to the border, I'm an LTC, so I'm packing, and I watch as our National Guard and our Texas Department of Public Safety can't do anything, and they're just kind of laughing at us as the traffickers bring those people up through here, and we know that they're just going to be flown to New Jersey and other parts of our great nation, and the fury, I guess, as someone who's defended our borders overseas against drug traffickers and terrorists to watch them waltz right into our country. It's that combination of anger, but a desire to suddenly wish you had some power that was more tangible than what we have. He is trying to harm our country and weaken it from within, and so pure fury. I've lost friends in combat defending this country and our great Constitution, and what is going on right now is a shredding of it. It feels very much like 1977, but when we had a weak president who was cutting off our power, our fuel supplies, we had gas lines everywhere, high gas prices, and people openly flouting the from the left their desire to have a socialist, if not communist society. It feels very much like that 43 years ago.
Yeah, and Jimmy Carter at least had a good heart. The people who are running Joe Biden are some of the biggest cancers not only in the world, but certainly in this country. The Texas socialists, your other job, as you're on the job in the Texas legislature, the Texas socialists who are preventing not just voting integrity, they're preventing laws like, for example, 5 people have died since their stunt because bail reform is not being conducted. Texas teachers miss their 13th paycheck, funding for teacher retirement, funding for foster care, relief for property taxes for every political party here in the state of Texas. That just stuff's not getting done. Speak to these Democrat socialists who abandoned their posts. Tell us about your priorities in Austin.
Well, of course, I have filed House Bill 217, which will not allow a judge to change the sex on a birth certificate, because we're fighting that. Of course, there's usually a couple of counties in Texas that we seem to spend a lot of time on in the legislature. One is Travis and one is Harris, and there's a judge in Travis County. Since the UIL will allow people to play sports based on what is on their birth certificate, there's a judge who's trying to change the sex on birth certificates so that a boy can play in a girl's sport. Wow. So House Bill 217 will negate that. We've got abortion-inducing drugs that we need to go after that we're not able to do so right now. We're going to strengthen the critical race theory, Steve Toast 3739. We're going to strengthen that. And we're also looking at property tax relief with the appropriations bill. So there is a lot of work that Texans of all stripes need done on their behalf that isn't being accomplished because they went off to Washington, D.C., to their overlords who are telling absolute falsehoods about the anti-fraud bill. We're actually expanding the hours that you can vote. And when they say anything about 24-hour voting, Chris, you and I both know there's only one county that did it. Nobody in the nation does it. It has never existed. And the state is responsible for free, fair, and standardized elections throughout the state. So 24-hour voting has never existed in our state, and it was a quick little ploy by a county clerk in Harris County. And we're making it more accessible if you're legal to vote and harder to commit fraud on these elections, which is a bipartisan issue.
Yeah, all the deviancy from this last election, it seems to be centered on the corruption in Harris County. I've only got about 30 seconds because I know you got to get to another interview. So let me just say this. Can you ever conceive, if you are to prevail in the CD6 election, can you conceive of you ever abandoning your post the way these socialist Democrats did?
Sir, I'm a military man. I serve my country. I do my job. I can never conceive myself doing that, and they shouldn't either, and they should be ashamed and come on home. We've got business to do. Get your rear ends home.
Jake Ellzey, conservative Texas state legislator, naval graduate, U.S. Naval Academy, deployed 9 times defending this country. He is running in Congressional District 6. Folks, if folks want to check out your campaign, sir, where can they go?
Ellzeyfortexas.com, sir.
All right, thank you. Jake Ellzey. Folks, CD6, check it out. Folks, CD6, check it out. Folks.